Hello friends, in this video we'll talk about essay writing in UPSC examination. So essay in UPSC examination is of around 250 marks. So you'll get 2 essays, each of 125 marks, and you will get 3 hours to complete these 2 essays. Means around a 1.5 hour each essay you need to give. So for 125 marks you have to write around 1000 to 12,000 words. For each essay you have to write around 1000 to 1200 words and around 10 to 15 pages on an average you have to write for writing this 250 marks essay. So UPSC examination has not defined any syllabus, so there is no syllabus for this essay answer writing. There is no separate syllabus that you have to read. So you have to have in-depth knowledge of your GS paper and your current affairs in order to excel well in essay. And you must know the way how you can organize these words. Like there should be proper structuring of the answer in the essay. And you will have to keep closely with the subjects of the essay. What kind of question being asked till now. So you will have to focus and you will have to generate a thought on the topic. We will talk about that, and you will have to write concisely whatever the topics are. So relevant to the question, you will have to write answer. And marks will be given for your exact and effective expression. So whatever being asked in the essay, you have to write accordingly. And you must have proper understanding of the topic and also know how to effectively organize whole essay in this word limit. How will you write essay? Traditionally we talk about essay, में कुछ नहीं होता. There is no heading, there is no subheading. But if we talk about UPSC essay writing, suppose this is your page, understand, it's divided like this. So you will have to write heading, then you will write something, then you will write heading, and there will be subheading, and you will write something in between. So heading and then subheading. So it will be more or less like a report. It is less like an essay, it will be more like a report. Suppose you will get some data, some graph. It will be something like this. So this is going to be more like a report and less like an essay. So UPSC essay writing is like you are writing a report on a topic. You will have to give data, facts, everything, and you should write heading and subheading so that it is easy for the examiner to understand. So the heading, subheading, you can highlight. Suppose you have written something here and you can box it like this, and then you can use box. And GS mein, if you talk about GS paper, what's the difference between GS and essay paper? In GS paper, they check your knowledge, understand how much knowledge you have of the subject. So that's why they ask 20 questions. And here in essay, they will ask one question and they will know analysis and in-depth understanding. So we'll test your emotional aspect and biases. So you are writing an essay on women, and your style of writing on women will understand whether you are misogynist or not, whether you are in the favor of women empowerment or you are traditional, whether you are still with a traditional mindset. So through the essay writing, you'll try to check your emotional aspect and biases. So it is very important, because while writing 2000 to 1200 words, it becomes very difficult to hide your true self from the examiner. So essay is a test of your emotional aspects and biases. Okay, so we have to know that it's a kind of personality test. Through the essay, they are checking your personality. So it is not a place to let out your frustration. Suppose they talk something about India's economy, and you are very frustrated about the current state of India's economy. So essay, you have to understand, is not a place to let out of your frustration. So then examine and evaluate your ability to develop a good administration. What essay wants from you? That are you a good administration? Do you have good administrative capabilities? So first of all, they will try to check that. And do you have optimistic mindset? Can you offer solution? Because they need optimistic people in the administration. And can you offer solution? So no matter your solution will be effective or not, but are you able to offer solution to the problem? Are you optimistic? Or you value constitution? So you have to value constitution everywhere, and so you cannot go against it. Can you give leadership role in certain situation? They will text this to the K, and it cannot be superficial treatment of the issue. You have to write in depth about the essay, and you will have to write in a structured format. For example, there will be introduction, and there will be proper body, and there will be conclusion. So you will have to, they will see your organizational skill with the help of the essay. So essay is not simply just a test of a knowledge, it's just a test of your personality, your biases, your emotional connect, your emotional intelligence, whether you are a good administrator, whether you are optimistic, can you offer solution, do you respect constitution, can you play leadership role, and how effectively you can organize your thought. In essay they will test your ability to organize your thoughts. Can you organize your thoughts? So in essay we'll see a Roca principle. So Roca principle is very relevant here, that your essay should be relevant. First of all, you must know the relevance of the essay. Suppose they have asked about anything related to economy. So you know that how it is relevant today. For example, coronavirus. Economy has shattered because of the coronavirus. So you know the relevance of the essay. So to the relevance. Then organize. You must know the ability to organize essay into a structured format. Understand, that can happen when you practice how to write an essay. So relevance of essay, organizing capability of the essay, then clarity of thought. Do you clearly understand the essay or not? So you must have a clarity of thought, and then analytical component, whether you can analyze the essay from all the possible dimension. So this is the Roca aspect of this essay answer writing. So now we'll elaborate what really is the Roca principle of essay. Okay, so Roca, first of all, relevance of essay. So how we'll understand relevance? Suppose first of all you will have to see the tone of the essay. What is the tone of the essay? Understand the topic and the tone of the essay first. Then you will have to see the richness. Do you have thoughts about the essay that you can give variety? You can give varied dimension like socio-economic, political, cultural, economical, environmental. You can give many dimensions, and how you can diversify your essay, diversity to the essay. For example, Indian society, if they talk about. So how you, Indian society. So how you can how can enrich your answer through with the help of the various dimensions. Then you will have to understand what are the various dimensions of Indian society, like diversity. Okay, so there's two things in diversity: unity in diversity and diversity in unity. So there's two things: diversity, architecture. Okay, ancient civilization. Okay, ancient civilization, ancient history. Then we can talk about. We have already talked about the architecture. Okay, origin of many religion, like Buddhism, Hinduism, and this Jainism. So it's the origin of many religion and has given a lot of things to the society. So we can see a lot of dimension from Indian society. Then we can also talk about dimension like social dimension, like our society is patriarchal society. Okay. So we can talk about the social dimension, how our society is functioning, what are the social institutions, like we give so much importance to the family system. Then social, economical, we talk about. So we can compare if the past, for example, ancient India was considered as a golden bird, understand? So we were very rich society and used to control around 23% of the world trade before Britishers looted us. So this is how we can give economic perspective. We can start from historical perspective, and then we can give in political dimension, that how in 12th century there was Anubhav Mandapa established by Vishveshwarya, who was the founder of Lingayat sects and was known as first parliament in the world. So we can talk about the original, that before the world talks about the politics and constitution and all about what we can say political parliament and all these kind of things. So India, it has already started in 12th century with the help of Vishveshwarya. When Lingayat faith, they've started. They're the first parliament in the world. So this is known as Anubhav Mandapa established by Anubhav Mandapa established by Vishveshwarya. So you can give any of the dimension, like economic if you give, you can start it from history. Social dimension you can give from history to present situation. You can start it like that. So this is how you will enrich your answer. So you can enrich your answer through this. In order to enrich your essay answer writing, you can use the PESTEL principle. Just remember this. PESTEL principle. PESTEL means political, E for economic, S for social, and then T for technological, E for ecological or environmental, and L for legal. You can give all these special dimensions to a topic in order to make your essay rich. And then what else you can do? You can balance your answer. So how you can balance your answer? Balance doesn't mean that you have to give 50-50. Ratio can be 10-90, ratio can be 90-10, but you cannot completely tilt toward one dimension, understand? If you want to tilt towards one, there should be particular ratio. For example, is NAM relevant today? Suppose this is the topic of the essay. Is NAM relevant in present context? Then we know that NAM is not relevant, because we have to see why NAM originated. Because after Second World War, we have seen huge devastation, and in order to overcome that, in order to overcome the possibility of another war, India followed the policy of NAM. Means we won't be in the any block, like we won't favor USA, we won't favor USSR. We will be non-aligned. We won't be aligned to any of the party. So that was the idea behind NAM. But if we talk about the present context, political scenario has changed. Now there is no Cold War going on between USA and USSR. That has already ended in 1991. Now there is a new world order is establishing. So now it is multipolar world. That time there was bipolar world. Now there are many countries are emerging. For example, China, we talk about India is emerging. Then Arab bloc is different. They are exerting their power. Then also Africa is also trying to assert itself with the help of African Union. Although the assertion is not that much, but still these are the rising power. Especially it is known as Asian century. That India and China, these countries are rising, and China is going to be the major world power, and maybe will replace USS in due course of the time. So this is within this changing scenario, and seeing the security threat coming from China and Pakistan, being non-aligned is not something that is very fruitful for India at the present situation. So we'll have to see present relevant. If we talk about present relevant, in order to balance this answer, you can see no, 90% NAM is not relevant, but 10% you can give yes, it can be relevant. How it can be relevant? Suppose in some situation you don't want to favor some country. Understand? Suppose you want to increase your cultural influence in other country, and anything like that, something you can contribute to 10%. Could be koi bhi any topic, any dimension you can give which can support NAM, even it is relevant in present situation. Okay, there are many situations when we don't favor USA. In many situations we take the side of the China. For example, we are the members of Quad, as well as we are the member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We are trying to balance these people. Understand? We are not in any of the bloc. So somewhere non-aligned movement becomes relevant when we want to maintain the balance between the countries, because we are not taking sides of any. We are not taking side of the USA. We are not taking side of the China, because we want to make a balance between the two. We are engaged with the Quad as well as with their CEO. So in this situation, you can see, yeah, NAM is relevant, but the relevance part is much lesser. So we'll have to see the tone of the topic. Understand? So this is a question. Understand? In this tone is they are asking a question. So we'll have to see. In order to balance answer, we'll have to see the ratio. In present, consider whether it can be 50-50, 10-90, 90-10. For example, there is one more topic. Then you will try to understand how we'll balance it. For example, digital economy will boost development or will be inequality in the society. So how will balance this topic? First of all, we'll have to see this thing in the present scenario. So we'll see two dimensions here. First one, present scenario of digital technology, and future dimension. So what we'll talk about the present. Present, if we try to balance, yes, in short term, this digital development will bring inequality in the society. As we know that there are many people who do not have mobile phones. Only children who have mobile phones can access education, but there are other people who are left out because they do not have electricity, mobile phone. Yes, in present situation we know that digital penetration is not very high in the country. So we can say, yes, in present situation it is 50-50. Yes, digital economy, in one hand, it will boost the economy and development in the economy, but in other hand, it will bring inequality. But if we talk about future, 50 or 30 to 50 years from now onward, there will be more internet penetration. There will be more inclusion of the people. in the digital world. More people will have digital devices, and it will be more accessible, more affordable. In future, we will talk about it will be net 10. It will bring less equality and more development in the society. So, in the short term, yes, it will bring development. Together, it will bring a huge inequality, because there are people, there is a duality in the society. There is a haves and have-nots. That in the one hand, India has having billionaires. Understand? India comes in 6th number in the number of the billionaires, and we talk about India is having one of the largest people below the poverty line. So we have India is characterized by dual economy, where there are people who are have and have-nots. So in present situation here, yes, it will be inequality, but in future we talk about it will bring development, and there will be less equality, because there will be more digital inclusion of the people, and it will be more accessible to the people with time. So question is how you will balance your topic. In order to balance your topic, understand, you cannot just say things in a manner. Understand, in order to balance your topic, you have to give examples. That like right now you can give a current example that many children are not accessing online education because they do not have digital devices to access that. So we can give some example, and we can give case study. Like in many NCERT books, they give some of the case study. We can pick up from there. You can quote some report. Like we can give example of ASER report. We can give the example of this Pratham report given by NGO, Pratham NGO, as a report by Pratham NGO. We can quote that report in order to tell the condition of education in the country and the digital divide in the country and the problem it is causing to the Indian education system, and we can give credible argument. So in order to balance an answer, you can give example, case study, report. And then if you support one side, suppose you are supporting more, in future you are supporting this, and it should be supported by some credible fact, that you are giving fact as well. While you are supporting an argument, you are taking one side, then you should support it by fact. Just saying things won't gonna help. You have to support it by fact, example, case study. You have to quote in some kind of report in order to give credibility to your answer, to your argument, to the side you have taken. Suppose this is the question. We'll learn how you will write a intro of the topic. For example, the question is rise of artificial intelligence as a threat of jobless growth or better job opportunity through reskilling or upskilling. Then you will have we write an introduction. First of all, you have to see whether you have understood the topic or not. Rise of artificial intelligence. Suppose artificial intelligence is increasing. So what is happening? There will be lot of the jobs will be lost, and there will be move towards automation. There will be less demand for the workforce. There will be less demand of the workforce. So that therefore many of the people will lose a job because of the increasing artificial intelligence. So this machine will be replaced by human will be replaced by machine. So there will be job loss. So first of all, we'll have to see all the important topic. Artificial intelligence, we'll have to pick up some of the things that we asked in examiner threat, and we'll talk about opportunities, and that is reskilling and upskilling. So we'll have to rephrase the topic. First of all, what can be alternative for artificial intelligence? What can be alternative of word threat? What can be alternative of word opportunity? Alternative means synonym, but it's something relative term, opportunity, and then reskilling and upskilling. What can be alternative term? So we'll have to see. So artificial intelligence can also we can talk about automation. When you think about artificial, what comes into your mind? Automation. And then there's a robotics. Then there's a smart devices, or Alexa, for example, Siri. So this is artificial intelligence. That threat, what are the threat? Unemployment. There will be unemployment. There will be job loss, and there will be job loss. There will be lack of opportunities for the people. So these are the kind of threat. There will be poverty. Okay, people will be jobless, so there will be poverty, malnourishment. So these are the threat. And what will be the opportunity? For example, there will be new jobs. Life will be much easier. So we'll be able to do things that new jobs will be created, and life will be easy, and new technological advancement. Okay, there will be technological advancement, more opportunity to new people, more industry will be grown, and life will become easy. For example, we are using artificial intelligence, Alexa. So this is a threat, and one of the more of the threat, we will be dependent on the technology. And there is one more threat, that there will be cyber threat. Suppose there is a cyber attack on your digital technology, whole city will be stopped. Suppose there is a city run by artificial intelligence or digital, everything is digital there. So what will happen? There is a lot of cyber security threat on that area. Anybody can attack if you don't have good cyber security infrastructure. So there is a threat of the rise of the artificial intelligence. We say that, and use in, if we talk about artificial intelligence, there is one more threat, that it can be used in army. Understand? Army. So there is a many unethical issues involved in the use of the artificial intelligence and robotics in the army. So these are some of the threats. And then if we talk about reskilling, how we will reskill people? Providing education, skill. If we talk about Skill India mission, education, we know that new education policy is there, and Skill India mission, many of the mission have been taken by government in order to skill people. So we have seen some of the terms, although the terms are less, but we have seen some of the alternative terms. So how you will rephrase the topic? So we will rephrase the topic in such a way. You can rephrase the topic in such a way. For example, automation, rise in automation and robotics, smart devices, and may result into unemployment. Okay, yeah, may result into unemployment, job loss, and a lot of threat like poverty, and then cyber security threat. Okay, or in other terms we can say that it can create new job and will bring technological advancement to the society, and will provide an opportunity for the government to skill people through education and Skill India mission. If we skill people, we can use this, we can utilize this rising technology for our own advantage. So something like that we can do. For the obviously this space is not that much, I can write everything here. So we can rephrase the topic using these words, like the alternative words we have chosen.